Introduction by members. Member for Columbia River Revelstoke.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'm really proud to have a special constituent on the precinct today, and that's my dad here from Kimberley. It's great to have him here. Thank you. For the last half century, my dad's been a commercial airline pilot as well as a volunteer pilot locally in East Kootenay. And he's a union guy. He was president of the Canadian Airline Pilots Association as well as the International Federation of Airline Pilots Associations. And that example I saw as a young person for leadership and service really made an impact on me at a young age. So with the House, please make him feel welcome today.
Minister of State for Local Governments.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. 14 years ago, one summer when I was living in Creston, on my first day of work at the town of Creston, I was with my mom and I went to get breakfast at a coffee shop, and I looked across the way and I saw this guy and I thought, wow, I don't know who that is, but he's going to be a very significant part of my life. Paul Dixon, happy birthday. I've known you for 14 years. You have been a very significant part of my life, and I do love you and care about you a lot. Happy birthday.
Leader of the Official Opposition.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I just want to start, first of all, by saying hi to Mr. McGuinness. He does some angel flights, and he gave me a flight one time. He does a lot of great work there. But joining us at the House today is Jeff Morris, who is the President and CEO of Angel Flight BC, and one of yes, and with him is also one of the pilots, Bruce Burley. They do a lot of work, obviously, in helping out. And Mr. Speaker, in 1999, Jeff helped to set up Angel Flight BC in Sydney, which now currently has 28 volunteer pilots providing air transportation to children and adults with cancer or other non-commutable medical issues to remote communities throughout Vancouver Island and Sunshine Coast. And in 2006, Jeff was awarded the Governor-General's Caring Canadian Award for his tireless volunteer work for the Angel Flights. So I just want to say thank you for the work you're doing. With the House, please make them welcome.
Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today in the gallery, I have a constituent visiting me by the name of Lisa Cordasco. If that name sounds familiar, it's because Lisa was a longtime media presence here on the island. If you listened to CBC Radio between 27 years ago, between 1998 to 2015, you would have heard her distinctive voice. Lisa was the first host of CBC Morning Show on the island, and after so many early morning starts, she switched over to day shift, where she produced and reported many island stories, nationally as well as locally. She's happily retired now in Saanich South. With the House, please make her welcome.
Member for Richmond Centre.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I would like to take a brief moment to be on record today. It's my father's birthday. And while I'm here in the chamber serving British Columbian, I'm very sorry that I cannot spend the day with him. I want to thank him for everything he has done for my family and for me. And happy birthday. Wish him good health. Thank you.
Minister of Children and Family Development.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. In the legislature today, we have a very special guest, my dear friend and mentor, Melanie Mark. Melanie Mark, the previous MLA for Vancouver Mount Pleasant and minister. Melanie and I got elected in 2016 in the provincial by-election together. Melanie made history in this legislature by being the very first First Nations woman ever elected. She was the first First Nations woman in cabinet, and she changed the history of our province. Melanie certainly made a mark on our province. She's made a significant mark on my life. I am a better person, a better woman, a better MLA, and a better leader because I've gotten to know Melanie and learned from Melanie. I can't say enough I think we were the 101st and 102nd women being elected into this legislature. It is something I will carry with me until I'm a grandmother and get to tell my story to my grandchildren. And so I adore you. There's no words to express the impact you've had on our province. Melanie is joined here today with her business partner, David Carten from AKS Wind Energy Corp, and also Dr. Vidya Vakela from BCIT. Would the House please join me in welcoming Melanie and her guests today?
Member for Caribou-Chilcotin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, she lights up a room when she enters it. She has given me more laughs and more entertainment and enjoyment than I have words to explain. Mr. Speaker, I can't wait until our annual camping trip, and I'm so excited to wish my granddaughter, Reina Couture, a happy 6th birthday today. She's watching right now, and I hope everybody would join us in wishing a happy birthday to this beautiful little girl.
Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Mr. Speaker, just a few weeks ago, members of this House stood united in cheering on the Toronto Blue Jays. Something as a quintessential soccer mom, I did more out of a unity measure than for the understanding of the love of the game. But now it is time for our hometown soccer heroes to shine as the Vancouver Whitecaps were winners of the Western Conference this past weekend. And for the first time in franchise history are going to the MLS Finals this coming Saturday. Yes, this isn't a Messi versus Mueller game. This is about national pride. And although elbows up is a penalty in soccer, I hope you all will join me in raising up your scarves this Saturday and say, "Go Caps."
Member for Richmond Bridgeport.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to give my personal welcome and greeting to Bruce Burley. Bruce, you really gave me a lot of guidance and help when I was a rookie politician way back in 2013. I really appreciate that. I'm glad that now you're switching from politics to a pilot career. Congratulations. And I also want to say happy birthday to my colleague, Emily from Richmond Centre's father. I got to know Richmond Centre MLA since 15 years ago when you were still a kid. And I understand his father was born in the same year as I am, so I wish him happy birthday. But don't tell them what year we were born. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Ladysmith Ocean View.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's clearly an auspicious day to be born. We have another birthday in the House today. The member from Victoria Swan Lake and our own Minister of Public Safety and Solicitor General is celebrating her birthday with all of us today. If you could all please make her feel so warm on her birthday.
Member for Kelowna Mission.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to join the member opposite in acknowledging the presence of Melanie Mark in the chamber. I got my start in provincial politics by getting absolutely whooped by her in that same by-election in which I arrived with, I believe, 9% of the vote. But I also remember distinctly that when I came to visit the legislature after doing so, I ran into her in the hallway and she offered to introduce me in this chamber. We've always enjoyed a very pleasant relationship that to me is a reminder of the collegiality that is possible outside of the sometimes hard-fought nature of politics. And while I'm standing, I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge another birthday. It is my federal counterpart, Dan Albus's birthday. I just got off the phone with him 15 minutes ago, wishing him a happy birthday in the federal parliament, and I innocently inquired as to whether they were going to sing happy birthday to him in the chamber, to which he replied that he didn't have that kind of clout. So, nonetheless, a big happy birthday to Dan Albus.
Richmond Bridgeport.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also want to give my welcome to Melanie Mark. Remember when Melanie was the tourism minister and I was the critic, and yet we can remain friends and we talk about all the time when we see each other at the Helijet. Welcome back to the legislature, Melanie.
Madam Clerk.
Introduction of bills. Statements by members.
Member for Coquitlam-Millardville.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Today marks World AIDS Day and the beginning of Indigenous AIDS Awareness Week, a time where we remember lives lost and honour those living with HIV. Indigenous AIDS Awareness Week was developed by national Indigenous-led organization Communities, Alliance and Networks, and is now recognized throughout the country, including here in British Columbia. One local organization that's integral to supporting people living with AIDS and HIV in BC is Ribbon Community, formerly known as AIDS Vancouver. We all remember the history of the AIDS epidemic, how fear, prejudice, and institutional oppression shaped the unkindness of the early public health response across North America. Ribbon Community was founded in 1983 and has been an essential organization in British Columbia that works to provide accurate, stigma-free information about HIV today, including information that HIV is treatable and ongoing efforts to end the stigma. Today, in honor of World AIDS Day and Indigenous AIDS Awareness Week, a contingent from Ribbon Community is in Victoria, connecting with community members in Tsawwaut First Nation as they host a recognition walk with Karen Harry to honor survivors of the HIV epidemic and commemorate those who've been lost by laying flowers on graves in the community and walking towards a brighter future. Today, we should honor and respect those lost, the activists, the survivors, and help prevent a resurgence of HIV by supporting medical research and equitable access to care and prevention and ongoing efforts in testing and medical care around this province. Thank you to health authorities, the Health Initiative for Men, and the BC CDC, and the work of organizations like Ribbon Community. We must continue to support fact-based education, testing, treatment, harm reduction, community-led services, and ongoing support for people living with HIV wherever they are, whoever they are. Let us honor the resilience of our communities, the memory of those we lost, and the work of those who refuse to let fear silence facts or compassion. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Richmond Bridgeport.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I rise today with heavy heart to speak about the tragic fire in Tai Po, Hong Kong, which has taken hundreds of lives and left many more injured and displaced. This tragedy has deeply affected people across the world, including Richmond, home to one of the largest Chinese-Canadian communities in the Lower Mainland. I want to begin by thanking the media, both in BC, Hong Kong, and overseas, for their dedicated work in keeping us informed. Their professionalism has ensured that families abroad, including many of my constituency, can follow developments during this heartbreaking time. For me, their work brings back very personal experiences and memories. I was once a reporter with United Press International. After graduating from Chinese University of Hong Kong, one of my very first major assignments was covering the massive 1972 fire aboard the Seawise University ship in Hong Kong Harbour. The fire burned for 2 days, and I remember standing on the shore, anxiously waiting for updates so I could file each report. Seeing today's reporter work tirelessly on the Tai Po fire reminds me of the importance and the responsibility of keeping the public informed during moments of crisis. One of my constituents, Charles Howe, reached out to me. His 90-year-old mother lived in the building that was completely destroyed. She, her daughter, and their caretaker were out for acupuncture at the time of the fire. They returned to discover they had lost everything. Though they were fortunate to escape with their lives, they must now live with another daughter, having lost their home and all their belongings. I also want to thank our local community organization here in Richmond and across the province for organizing fundraising efforts to support those affected. As someone who was born, raised, educated, and worked in Hong Kong, this tragedy breaks my heart. I ask all members of this House to join me in extending our deepest condolences to the victims, their families, and everyone affected by this devastating fire. Thank you.
Member for Kootenay-Monashee.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I'm pleased to rise today to recognize a remarkable British Columbian and dear friend, Montana Burgess, from Rossland on receiving the British Columbia Medal of Good Citizenship. For more than 16 years, she has been a leader in environmental advocacy, social and civic engagement in the Kootenays, across our province, and in the USA. As Executive Director of Neighbours United, she helped transform how communities work together on some of the most pressing issues of our time. Her leadership on the West Kootenay 100% Renewable Energy Plan stands out as a true milestone. Under her guidance, 14 local governments committed to transitioning to 100% renewable energy by 2050, an achievement that demonstrates what collaboration rooted in respect and community trust can accomplish. Montana has also been a pioneer in deep canvassing, an empathy-driven approach to building understanding across political divides. At a time when division can feel all too common, she has shown that honest conversations, listening, and compassion can bring people back together. Her commitment to inclusion has been just as powerful, from boosting voter turnout to supporting LGBTQ2S+ students and educators. In 2022, Neighbours United received the Provincial Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Award, a reflection of the values she brings to every project and every community she serves. It is my pleasure to congratulate Montana Burgess, a 2025 recipient of the Medal of Good Citizenship, and in thanking her for everything she has contributed to our province. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Caribou-Chilcotin.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I rise today to recognize a true gem in the crown of Caribou-Chilcotin's great resorts, the Watch Lake Lodge, which this year celebrates an incredible 75 years in operation. Since opening its doors on November 1st, 1950, Watch Lake Lodge has been welcoming home away from home for generations of visitors. Family owned and operated, it sits on an absolutely stunning shoreline, offering guests a chance to experience the warmth, the community, and the hospitality that define Caribou-Chilcotin. At the helm today is Dimps Horn, who along with her sisters, Doreen and Rita, quite literally grew up with the lodge's guests. Over the decades, they've built not just a business, but a community where 90% of the visitors return year after year. Friendships have lasted a lifetime and, of course, generations. Through challenges like wildfires and the pandemic, the Horn family's dedication has never wavered. When the doors did reopen, the families returned, often bringing the next generation to experience the same magic that's been shared for decades. Mr. Speaker, I had the honor of joining the 75th celebration on November 1st, a wonderful evening filled with stories. Mr. Speaker, some very interesting stories of pranks and hijinks, fond memories, laughter, and of course, great food that was produced by the Interlakes Cattle Bells, and of course, music and dancing, including some lively square dancing called by Dimps herself. Mr. Speaker, I invite all members to visit Caribou-Chilcotin and to stop by the Watch Lake Lodge, enjoy a trail ride, perhaps a day of fishing, or maybe a hike. I guarantee you'll be welcomed as family, and yes, that will include a hug from these three. Happy 75th anniversary to the Watch Lake Lodge. What an absolutely amazing achievement. Congratulations.
Member for Cowichan Valley.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. The former late Chief Seymour voluntold me to this board, which I was part of for 9 years. The Cowichan Watershed Board is a unique, locally rooted partnership that brings Cowichan tribes in the Cowichan Valley Regional District together to care for the Cowichan and Cook Siler watersheds. It exists to provide leadership for sustainable water management, protect eco-health, and safeguard the quality of life for everyone who calls the Cowichan Valley home. Today, the Cowichan Watershed stands as leading example of what is shared leadership can look like in the era of reconciliation and climate change. It is a co-governance model and co-chaired by the Cowichan tribes and the Cowichan Valley Regional District, reflecting a simple but profound truth. Water connects us all, and decisions about water are strongest when Indigenous law local government, science, and community knowledge stand side by side. In recent years, the board has shown what proactive, climate-ready leadership can be. One major focus has been growing need for this increase of storage in the Cowichan Lake. Working with the partners like the Cowichan Lake and River Stewardship Society, it has also supported Cowichan tribes and the province in co-led watershed sustainable path for Cooksaila. The board offers a trusted place for collaboration, shared learning, and consensus recommendations, and an engaged residents, school, and stewardship groups and local governments so that the watershed thinking can become part of a daily life in the Cowichan Valley. The board creates a table where many jurisdictions and voices can come together for the sake of the river, the lake, and the salmon. Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honourable members, I am humbled this afternoon to highlight and commend the 2025 Para Cup being held this week from November 30th to December 6th at the Ovintiv Event Centre in Dawson Creek. A proud moment indeed for Northern British Columbia and for all of us who value sport, inclusion, and community. This event brings together elite para hockey teams from around the world, including Canada, the United States, China, and Europe. They're together for a tournament that serves as the final international competition prior to the 2026 Paralympic Winter Games. Hosting the Para Cup in Dawson Creek marks the first time the tournament returns to the West Coast since 2007, a strong recognition that Northern BC can and does stage world-class sporting events. For the community of Dawson Creek and the broader Peace region, this event is more than sport. It is an opportunity for tourism, local economic stimulus, and regional pride. The City of Dawson Creek has proclaimed November 30th to December 6th as Para Cup Week to celebrate this community achievement. Most importantly, the Para Cup sends a powerful message about inclusion, accessibility, and respect for para-athletes. I encourage all British Columbians, whether in Dawson Creek, Kamloops, Vancouver, or anywhere in our beautiful province, to follow the tournament, to show support, and celebrate the athletes who have worked so hard to represent us. And I encourage this House to consider how we as a group can continue to support para-sport events, accessible venues, and inclusive recreation across British Columbia. Thank you.
Member for Esquimalt Colwood.
Seek leave to make an introduction.
Is leave granted?
Hi.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I just want to recognize that in the gallery we have the Pacific School of Innovation of Inquiry and their teacher Emma Wild joining us here today. So everyone in the House, make them feel welcome.
Madam Clerk.
Oral questions by members.
Member for Abbotsford Mission.
A woman was arrested for breaking into the neonatal intensive care unit at Surrey Memorial and making skin-to-skin contact with 3 vulnerable infants who are not hers. While frontline workers are overwhelmed, burnt out, people are now able to walk into our NICU and assault newborn babies. As a mother, I cannot imagine the terror and trauma these families are facing right now. How on earth was something this horrific allowed to happen in a BC hospital?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Thank you to the member for the question. What took place is extremely distressing, and I share the member's concern about even the possibility that someone might be able to enter a unit like that and have contact with children, precious children, newborn children, Mr. Speaker. That is why Fraser Health has taken quick action. They are looking into this and reviewing this. This is why the RCMP, the police have investigated. They have laid charges in this case. That is exactly the appropriate reaction, and I know that Fraser Health will continue to look at this, to take everything that they can to learn from this. They have already updated their security protocols and procedures to ensure that something like this never happens again.
Member supplemental.
We're glad an arrest has been made, but the question about safety in our hospitals still stand. Let's recap what we have in BC hospitals today. Nurses aren't safe, doctors aren't safe, patients aren't safe, and now even newborn babies aren't safe. Can the Premier tell us who exactly is safe in this province under his NDP government?
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. Safety of patients and of healthcare workers is our top priority in hospitals, Mr. Speaker. Healthcare workers need to know that they are supported and safe to be able to concentrate on the work that they do, delivering exceptional care to the people of British Columbia. Mr. Speaker, that's why we've brought in the Relational Security Initiative program. That's why we have hundreds of relational security officers working on sites across British Columbia. Mr. Speaker, that's why when incidents like what the member is describing take place, investigations are undertaken, lessons are learned, and improvements are made. That is the system working the way that it ought to, but Mr. Speaker, we cannot stop. We have to continue that focus on worker safety. We'll continue to work with the nurses on minimum nurse-to-patient ratios, for example, because that is one way, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that there are sufficient nurses on site, safe, and able to deliver the care that they can do in the working conditions that they deserve and expect. Thank you.
Member for Surrey Panorama.
Mr. Speaker, a man was stabbed and killed across from the Lugat single-room occupancy, Vancouver's 25th murder this year. The Hospitality Vancouver Association said, quote, "It is increasingly clear that the BC housing decision to locate over 300 SRO beds into a concentrated two-block stretch of Granville Street is a failed experiment." Now, this question's an easy one for me, but if the minister stood where that man was stabbed, would she feel safer on that sidewalk where drug use runs rampant or where once again outlawed? Please, pick one.
Minister of Housing.
Thank you very much, Speaker. As the member likely knows or would be able to read in the news, we're working closely with the City of Vancouver on the relocation of tenants at the Lugat to ensure we're working with tenants to find good housing alternatives that work for them and meet their needs. The Lugat was an emergency COVID measure, and we understand that it hasn't worked well in the community. We've been in conversation with the city and with the business owners there, and that's why we're working to relocate those tenants by June of this year. We'll continue to work in partnership with the City of Vancouver, the Downtown Vancouver Business Association, and others.
Member supplemental.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Well, the Lugat's not the only problem. Granville Street has become a government-run disaster zone. 3 SROs have racked up 6,600 police and fire calls, overdoses, stabbings, fires, and businesses being flooded from those SROs over 100 times so far. Vancouver's mayor is pleading with the Premier to shut them down, saying people are dying in the streets, don't feel safe, and the financial fallout from this government's policies is astronomical. Why is the Premier forcing people to live in the Granville Street war zone his NDP government created?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Again, we're working with the city on the relocation of tenants at the Lugat. The other 2 SROs are part of an ongoing conversation. We understand that we can't just move these tenants onto the street. That would be a worse situation for everyone. That's why, unlike members on the opposite aisle, we continue to support and expand supportive housing beds across the province. We'll continue to do that work to ensure people have a good place to live. We have been, again, in conversation with the City of Vancouver.
They put forward another number of sites. None of them are move-in ready for residents, and we will not move these tenants onto the street, so we continue to work on plans to relocate them in a way that supports them and improves safety, not just in the Granville district, but for everyone.
Leader of the third party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. For years in our province, patients with complex health conditions leading to debilitating pain and fatigue have struggled to find appropriate care. Given the demands on family physicians, it's often difficult to get a diagnosis, never mind treatment. Based on Bowen Island and the riding I represent, the BC Centre for Long COVID, Myalgic Encephalomyelitis, Chronic Fatigue Syndrome, and Fibromyalgia became a lifeline during the pandemic and currently serves 6,000 patients across the province. This innovative multidisciplinary model of virtual group medical visits is under threat of being curtailed as of January 1st, reducing group sizes to the point where the model is no longer viable. Virtual group medical visits are efficient, cost-effective, and save the health system money, over $2 million a year, according to an analysis by accounting firm MNP. Mr. Speaker, we know the healthcare system is in crisis and health spending represents roughly a third of the government's budget. So why is the minister not supporting models like this that are proven to both increase care and save costs?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker, and thank you very much to the member for the question. First, I want to say, group medical visits are a really important way of supporting people who are living with some very complex conditions and often debilitating conditions like long COVID or like chronic fatigue syndrome, Mr. Speaker. And these are models that are helping patients get more time with care providers. It's enabling them to stay at home and access care. It's a way of improving support and continuity for care. Now, during the pandemic, the temporary measures, these were temporary measures that were introduced to expand access to virtual care. And in this post-pandemic era, the Ministry of Health has been working with Doctors of BC to strengthen virtual care visits, but also to be able to design fee codes that are a way of supporting care by setting some limits on group size and clarifying the billing rules. Mr. Speaker, I have heard from members of all sides of this House, I have heard from physicians, I have heard from patients about the benefit of these group medical visits, and that's why we put a pause on a decision that had initially been taken, and we are working and hearing from providers, from patients, and I'll have more to say about this soon. I understand that people are waiting to hear an update. Thank you.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate the pause, and I'm asking this question now because people are trying to plan their lives beyond January 1st. So unless the minister acts soon, the clinic will need to reconfigure on January 1st to do more non-group patient visits, which will add to wait times. Smaller group sizes mean physician-only care, which restricts the volume of patients who can be seen. Some patients will be forced to seek out care in emergency rooms, from family doctors, and from specialists as a consequence of reduced clinic care. This will severely disadvantage rural and remote patients and those bed and housebound by disability. Patient volumes will be restricted at a time when complex chronic disease patient numbers are on the increase. So will the minister intervene with the Medical Services Commission to do the right thing and modify the group size cap to allow these expert practitioners to continue to help these patients in need?
Minister of Health.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. The member's done a great job of describing why these are of benefit and, again, expressing some of the interventions I have heard directly from physicians and from patients, from other care providers. That's why we paused on the decision. That's why we are consulting directly with Doctors of BC and hearing from other care providers. That engagement is important so that we can make a good decision moving forward, Mr. Speaker. I'll have a lot more to say on that in the future. And again, I just want to acknowledge, I understand people are waiting to understand what the decision is. But at the heart of this, again, is we understand group medical visits are really helping people, particularly those who cannot leave home, those people who are living in remote and rural areas, and it's important to be able to continue these. Thank you.
Leader of the fourth party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Premier's government is pushing changes to the Heritage Conservation Act that create the preconditions for rampant extortion and further destabilization of private property rights in British Columbia. And this is how it will work. A local tribe can decide that your property is their sacred ground, Then you won't be able to put a single fence post until you pay that tribe's company thousands of dollars to come to your home to dig for artifacts. But even if they don't find any, they can use dreams or stories or traditions to label your property a heritage site, thus triggering yet more costly studies, delays, or outright work stoppage, all because the new rules remove requirements for physical evidence. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier categorically denounce these proposed changes to the Heritage Conservation Act that allow tribes to block work on private property with absolutely no physical evidence?
Minister of Forests.
Thanks very much, Mr. Speaker. To the member's question, first, the member refers to changes that are being made and then mentions proposed changes. There are no changes. We are having a conversation with British Columbians. We are having a conversation with First Nations, with industry, with local governments, bringing them all to the table to talk about a piece of legislation that is archaic, that has last been amended over 30 years ago, that is not working for British Columbians today. We have major projects on this side of the House that we want to move forward. The Heritage Conservation Act is getting in the way. We have communities like Lytton that have been devastated with wildfires that are challenging rebuilds, and the Heritage Conservation Act is getting in the way. And then you have First Nations, Mr. Speaker, who want to be involved in discussions about their ancestors. I think all of us can agree, if those were our ancestors, we would want to be there, part of that conversation. And so I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, to the member opposite, that we're going to bring everyone to the table to ensure that we get this legislation right and do it in a way that is going to move British Columbia forward.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking of claims without any physical evidence, it has been over 4 years now since Chief Roseanne Casimir of the Kamloops Indian Band accused Canadians of murdering 215 children from the Kamloops Indian Residential School. An accusation of mass murder requires evidence, but there isn't any. No reports of missing children, no names, and no bodies. Despite receiving $12.1 million to investigate, Casimir has refused to conduct excavations and has asked the RCMP not to do any excavations either. Mr. Speaker, my question to the Premier, will he show leadership and defend innocent Canadians and join me in calling on the RCMP to finally investigate this grotesque accusation that has gone on and has gone on for far too long?
Minister of Indigenous Relations and Reconciliation.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. It's unfortunate that one member decides to divide this House, to divide this country, divide this province. It's unfortunate that her colleague has decided to chime in on this hateful behaviour. We know that some children did not come home, whether that was tuberculosis, starving, drowning, getting attacked. We know that there are thousands of children who never came home. That's the fact. That's the truth. We know they were taken from their families without permission. We know that they were harmed, they were hit if they dared to speak their own language, if they dared to practice their own cultural traditions. I spoke with a man the other day whose brother was going to die by drowning because he took a rowboat so he could escape from the residential school where he'd been locked up, so that he could get home to his family. He had not been allowed to see his family. So for the member to suggest that these things didn't happen, it's not only gross, it's offensive, and it's wrong. I'm not going to ask her to dig up her grandparents to prove they died, because that would be offensive. That would be wrong. That would be horrendous and inhumane. Yet for the fact that she goes on to call on any First Nations person in this province that they have to go up and dig the bodies of their children that were killed, children who died in residential schools, it's gross, it's wrong. The member should be ashamed of herself, and I know her grandchildren would be ashamed of her, because you do not treat other people like that. It's shameful.
Thank you. Member for Langley Walnut Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Fraser Health just announced that Langley Memorial Hospital earned international recognition for top surgical outcomes, a rare good news story in BC's healthcare system. But ironically, these are the same surgeons who just last September wrote the Minister of Health warning, quote, the unparalleled chronic neglect of surgical infrastructure at Langley Memorial Hospital cannot continue. We are long past being able to deliver the standard of care and experience our patients and the community deserve. They're right. The OR hasn't seen a major upgrade in 35 years. That's older than some members of this chamber. And they repeatedly announced hospital expansion may not include the OR. So, Mr. Speaker, when will the Infrastructure Minister commit to upgrades to the surgical ward at Langley Memorial Hospital? Or do our doctors need to keep performing world-class results in third world conditions?
Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Honourable Speaker. Healthcare infrastructure here in British Columbia is so incredibly vital to our collective ability to serve communities and to serve the people who need that kind of services that our hospitals provide. We have been undergoing the single largest investment in healthcare infrastructure upgrades in BC history. These are absolutely record-breaking investments that have so far meant at least 30 major capital projects involving hospitals, long-term care homes, urgent primary care centers, right across the province. However, we also know that there is more to do, which is why we are committed to continuing this work, including in communities like Langley. This work is underway as Fraser Health works with their communities to understand the needs, and we're going to be looking forward to next steps. Thank you.
Member for Peace River South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. In Tumbler Ridge, Councillor Nicole Noxana was so worried that there were not enough ambulances for her community that she did not call 911 when she became seriously ill. She ended up needing emergency surgery that same evening. Now, the same danger is spreading across the north. Stewart lost so many paramedics, it had 0 ambulances for the entire region. And Kitawonga's only ambulance station is literally derelict. How does this Premier justify leaving whole communities with no ambulance, no ER, and no way to get help when someone's life is on the line?
Minister of Health.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and thank you to the member for the question. Ensuring that when you call 911, an ambulance is there to deliver the care that you need is absolutely essential, no matter how large or small your community is. Mr. Speaker, that's why our government has taken unprecedented steps in investing into rural communities, ambulance services, new stations, new ambulances, more paramedics, Mr. Speaker. But nothing could be more important than ensuring that those smaller communities like Tumbler Ridge, like Stewart, have access to the resources they need. Mr. Speaker, I spoke directly to Mayor Krakauka just last week about the ambulance services in Tumbler Ridge. I know that BC Emergency Health Services is constantly monitoring coverage and monitoring the outcomes of calls, Mr. Speaker, always in an effort to allocate resources to the best place possible. But I do not want a single British Columbian to hesitate to call 911 in your time of need. They are there. They are highly trained, highly capable people doing amazing work in our communities. They are there to serve us and to care for us. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Bulkley Valley Stikine.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Through to the Minister. Well, that's really interesting because on Highway 37, a woman sent me a letter and her husband died in her driveway because there was no ambulance for over 2 hours. His partner did everything right, called 911, tried to get him help, but the help simply was not there. Will the Premier admit under his watch rural British Columbians are being left to die without proper emergency care?
Shame.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we continue to work with health authorities, with the BC Emergency Health Services, and are investing more. Working here in BC than ever before, staffing has increased 40% since 2019. Mr. Speaker, we have invested more than from $475 million back when we took government in 2017 and increased that to over $1 billion, Mr. Speaker, in the last fiscal. We are going to continue to do the work that is required to ensure services are there in remote communities, to ensure that people, when they call 911, that the help is there for them. Thank you.
Member for Delta South.
Mr. Speaker, in Delta, the mayor is so fed up. He's talking about running his own hospital because of this broken healthcare system. This isn't just a Delta problem, Mr. Speaker. In the last week alone, Fort Macleod ER closed, 100 Mile House ER closed, Port Hardy's ER has been closed overnight for nearly 3 years, and the minister's own ER and ICU in Port Alberni is shut down indefinitely because they don't have the staff to run it. How can doctors expect to do their jobs in this province and save lives when this minister cannot keep emergency rooms open?
Is universal choosing to move to British Columbia. We are fast-tracking their credentialing. What used to be years is now months for doctors.
Offenders that are causing the most repeated harm to communities, to tightening up those bail laws, to keep them off the street. I heard from mayors about these individuals and what's needed in the criminal code to make those changes, and that's what's before Ottawa right now. I'm really proud of our leadership, Mr. Speaker.
Similar to what we're seeing going on with nurses right now, the burnout is happening for first responders. So a very simple question to the Premier. Are these the kind of records that this Premier wants to be remembered for?
Yeah.
Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The toxic drug crisis continues to devastate communities across BC, families who are losing loved ones, people who are brothers and sisters and sons and daughters, and every single life lost is one too many. Mr. Speaker, that's why we are going to continue to take every action that we can to connect people to care, to help intervene early and often, and to separate them from a toxic, a dangerous, a poisonous drug supply. Mr. Speaker, that drug supply is changing quickly. It is evolving, and we are adapting as well. Mr. Speaker, we're going to continue with harm reduction efforts that keep people alive so that we can help connect them to the care that they need. Mr. Speaker, I want to say thank you to every single first responder in the fire department, across the ambulance service, in communities. Mr. Speaker, these people are doing heroes' work, responding to tragedy. And Mr. Speaker, we are going to continue to build out a system of care to support people, not to stigmatize people. Mr. Speaker, it's so vitally important that they get connected to the care they need, and that's why we're going to continue with Road to Recovery. That's why we're going to continue to add treatment beds, Mr. Speaker. That's why we're going to continue to help people in the recovery and aftercare that they need. And I look forward to working with this member on that together. Thank you.
Member supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The problem is that the first responders and the firefighters, they don't want the thanks or the praise right now. They just want what they've been asking for. They want this government to take it seriously and to fix these problems. And the issue that I'm having is that this morning I was at a symposium on recovery. A lot of colleagues were there, nobody from the government side, to hear what needed to be heard about the issues that we're facing right now. And a very prominent Metro Vancouver mayor was asked a simple question. If he could have one thing from this Premier, what would it be? And his response was that he hoped he would keep his promises. Because we have been promised involuntary care. We've been promised, over 100 beds about a year ago? Nothing moving forward there. We got, I think, 10 beds. We've been promised that decriminalization was a failed experiment, but yet decriminalization remains in place. No commitment from this Premier on when they're going to roll that back. We were promised back in the spring that changes were going to be made to SROs and supportive housing because of the tragedies that we're seeing playing out in them right now. No changes there. We can pay for every consultant, every czar, every whatever, but we're not seeing changes on the ground. And that's the problem. Nobody's seeing anything change. If the ideology behind harm reduction was working, we would see some changes, but we don't see those changes. We see a province that is struggling the most with overdoses, with crime, with all of these things. So I'm sick and tired of compassion being weaponized. I think that most people are. Will this government do the right thing, the actual compassionate thing for people that are struggling, and make sure that we have access to involuntary care, make sure that we build out a system of recovery for people, make sure that we're actually supporting getting people lifted up from the place that they're at right now, rather than keeping them under the government's boot and keeping them in supportive housing that isn't actually helping them. So again, to the Premier, is this the record that this Premier wants to be remembered by?
Mr. Premier.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I appreciate the members' passion about this issue. I feel passionate about it too. Every British Columbian deserves a safe community and be safe at home. People are struggling with addiction, need the treatment and supports they need. Same with people struggling with mental health issues and brain injury. Now, what the member was incorrect about was a number of her allegations related to the record of this province. So in British Columbia, 2024 versus 2023, crime severity is down 11% and the overall crime rate is down 7%. We led Canada in crime reduction. And that's because of innovative programs. I'm not saying we're done, Honourable Member. We're still doing the work, but we're pointing in the right direction. We've opened in...
Members, come to order, please. Premier.
We've opened involuntary mental health care in our prisons, where many people are struggling who have addiction issues, brain injuries, mental health issues. We've identified a site in Surrey and a site in Prince George where we're working to open additional involuntary care beds. At 17 different hospitals across the province, we've either expanded or renovated involuntary care beds. So what the member says simply is not correct. We've opened 760 additional addiction beds, voluntary addiction beds in this province to provide people with the care they need. We've amended the decriminalization initiative to make sure that if someone's at home and they've overdosed, they feel secure calling for an ambulance. They're not worried they're going to lose their job, but to keep people safe in our parks and our streets by criminalizing public drug use. We're going to continue to do this work. This is not an easy issue. It's not an issue we're going to solve overnight. People are...
Members.
The drugs are...
Members.
Speaker, the drugs are more toxic than they've ever been. This recent batch was mixed with, I'm told, horse tranquilizer, Honourable Speaker. These drug dealers have no conscience. They have no shame, and they are killing their customers, Honourable Speaker. So we'll do everything we can to support people, those who haven't died but have suffered serious brain injury or struggling in our communities. And we're going to do the hard work with compassion and care to make sure people are safe. Thank you.
The bell and the question period. Official Opposition House Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would like to follow up with a report and a letter regarding infill information on the point of order that I raised last week of question period and the time disparity between the two sides. So if it pleases the House, I'd like to table the letter.
Does the member have the leave to table that? Please do.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Madam Clerk. Member for Nanaimo Lanswell.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to present a petition on behalf of the University of British Columbia Alma Mater Society dated the 1st of October 2025. The petition represents 15,000 students of the University of BC and transit advocates across Metro Vancouver requesting that the provincial government expedite work on the business case for the future extension of the SkyTrain to UBC and prioritize pursuing a joint funding agreement with the federal government.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk.
Orders of the day.
Government House Leader.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Speaker, I move that pursuant to Standing Order 16.4, that A, the deferred division for the motion for second reading of Bill number M219 intituled Health Authorities Amendment Act be further deferred until the start of orders of the day for the afternoon sitting on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, and B, any division called in Section B during the afternoon sitting on Monday, December 1st, 2025, and the morning sitting on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025, be deferred until the start of orders of the day for the afternoon sitting on Tuesday, December 2nd, 2025.
Thank you. The member doesn't need the lead to make that motion. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Nay. Nays have it. Division? I heard the nays louder than the ayes. Division is called.